Hey y'all, Bohemia with Bohemian Stars and Ocean Heart readings here. What's up, rebels? What's up, artists, creatives? We are going to do a reading here that is for our muses. So, a lot of y'all don't know, I take a lot of time off social media because behind the scenes I do a lot of classes and groups and things like that. And so I do what I call muse retrieval. I do journeys to help people find their muse. I do astrological consultation for specifically being an artist and what you need to feel fulfilled to create and kind of produce out in the world and things of that nature. So this is something I love, love, love. I'm a Pisces after all. You'll hear me say it every reading because we know like the number one thing Pisces like to do is talk about being Pisces. Holla if you're a Pisces below, okay? Sun, moon, rising, Venus, whatever. So I have a little different charms and rock mixture, crystal mixture that I set up here. So we have 4 piles today, and this is going to be a mix. So what I was concentrating on when I pulled the cards is a message from your muse, as well as just a little insight for you and kind of tips, and then some prompts as well. I would also really like you guys to get involved and below. Now, don't put your ideas, all right? I've been plagiarized. There's someone making a lot of money off my music right now. Look. Ooh, it's gone. Okay, I don't want that to happen to y'all. But I would love if we kind of, think of ideas. So if you're just like, oh, orange, or, I have a little thing that you take from the reading, I would love for you guys to share down below and create other prompts if it made you think of something. I want to make this a series, so really let me know. I know last time we had a lot of good feedback and people were like, please do more, I like these. So let me know down below if you like this, so you can take inspiration from this entire reading, from the object that you pick here down to every card, and you can come back at different times on these videos and pick other ones. And I really just wanted to get your juices flowing. Okay, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 here from left to right. 1 is a piece of mahogany obsidian. It comes in like this, almost feel like how a pottery would be, but that's how it is. I think they polished it up a little bit. 2, we have this bead, and it is Buddha, right? 3, we have this gorgeous slice of amethyst. Isn't that so pretty? Yes. And 4, we have this charm with rhinestones, and this is the evil eye. Protect you from the haters, okay? All right, so hopefully you've got which one merges with you. I will link down below all the decks that I use and things of that nature. So let's get into this reading. All right, number 1, those of you who chose this gorgeous mahogany obsidian, let's get into these cards. We have Wildfire. We have Tiny Dancer by Elton John. So I have color cards, music cards, a deck I've created myself, hashtag inspired. We have a little sweet treat because I just love those chocolate cards. We have some prompts that I wrote on paper. I'll probably rewrite those on index cards eventually. But we have an archetype. So those of you who are story writing or things or need archetypes. So I try to really build things. I'm a multi-level, or I use a lot of different mediums. Okay, I was a photography music double major with an art minor. So a minor in fine arts, so I love this stuff. Okay, so here's what we got. Oh, sorry, we have the High Priestess reverse. We have Azure for your color, which has angelic communication on it. We have the Two of Wands, and we have Temperance reverse. So we have the Impressionist tarot. We have the Salvador Dali tarot. We have a tarot here that's Edwardian and like Victorian paintings in it. So we're doing this, y'all. Let's get on with this inspiration. So shadow self. So we got the shadow self card here. So some of you, so we'll start talking about first you as an artist, and then we'll get into character ideas and just prompts. Okay, so for you as an artist, now definitely if you haven't connected to a muse, those of you who work with angel energy, you could definitely have an angel as your muse who comes in and is like your guide, or kind of like that they call them a fetch or a totem kind of energy, like that kind of mentor energy. You have angelic communication here, and you have temperance, which always traditionally has an angel on it. And the angel, it's reverse, which is something I see when spiritual beings want to download to you and communicate to you. They show that like their energy trying to come down. So you might feel that that vibe, like you know, there's a presence with you when you're creating sometimes. So don't be scared. This is just your guide. Now some of you are kind of blocking that and you're like, I don't know, like, you know, or you feel blocked right now from being truly inspired. You might not know how much to incorporate your spirituality or all your woo-woo stuff into your actual art, and that might be something that you're just you know, troubled about. Now obsidian is amazing because obsidian protects from lower energies, and mahogany obsidian is good when you're dealing with other people, kind of their negative energy that kind of gets into your mind, or their beliefs that kind of get into your energy, and you need to clear that out and cut that out. And it's very sharp, like you have to be careful with this piece. It's sharp. It's like, you know, they make arrowheads out of obsidian. So when you need to cut that energy out so you can focus and find your inner truth. And so that's something that you guys are working on right now. Now we have the shadow card, and it's interesting because this archetype deck actually has shadow attributes and light attributes, and you have it on the shadow side. And it says, selling insights to the highest bidder, compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. So some of you are coming to this reading because you might just be on the verge of selling out. Like, man, maybe I just have to say, screw it. You know, I just got the image of somebody who does like rotoscoping or animation work, and I know how that is. A lot of my friends were in that business in LA. I know that they scalped all the young college kids and ripped them off, and then they go and get billions of dollars for these movies, and people don't get properly paid. So some of you might be in situations like that, and this is kind of flagging you and letting you know, okay, like you're at this threshold time. Really think about what it is you're going to do, because you're not really connected with your intuition right now, and you might be ready to take an offer that's selling you short on yourself. You might also be kind of letting others pressure you into lowering your prices. So right now, it's funny, you also got rebel against your own viewpoint. So you might have really talked yourself into a frame of mind that isn't healthy for a thriving artist, right? You're supposed to have this wildfire energy. I call to the south, fires that lick and burn. I am that fire. Some of you are dealing with passion that's waning, and you know, your view of the world is becoming smaller, and you might feel like, well, you know, I'm 30 now, I'm 40, I'm 50. I don't have the opportunities that I have. How could I go back to college? I do see studies in college being an issue for some of you, because the card you got reversed is the visionary. A lot of you are Sagittarian or have Sagittarius rising or moon. You could have Pisces or Cancer or Virgo energy in your chart, or other fire sign, Aries or Leo. So, and we have Elton John, so you could have Aquarius. A lot of energies here, but there's a huge Sagittarian energy, and feeling like, man, I should have studied more, or I don't know what to do with this degree, those kind of energy. So it's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be this wild, passionate artist. Like what you do connects people to another world. Like you have that ability to, you know, to do that, to bridge things. Some of you were multimedia artists, and maybe you're feeling like you're going to have to let go of one of your disciplines or practices because you don't know how to make them work. And so the Two of Wands is, you know, it's an Aries card. It's a card of free will, right? Aries is free will and choice. You can decide which path you want to take, or people who are really badass, they are like, they find a way to bridge it and they do both, right? So I feel like a lot of you just need encouragement to, you know, kind of get out of your head if you've been talking down on yourself or seeing a limited worldview. Get back to that point where your energy was big. Right now, Jupiter's in Sagittarius, right? You knew, even if it was like that young fool's luck when we don't really know how the world is yet, and we're just graduating high school and we're like, yay, we're gonna do wonderful things. Like, get back into that energy, because you need to be, to do these visionary, wonderful things that you want to do, right? But you do also need to take all that knowledge and wisdom that you've had from yourself with the shadow self, okay? You do. It's good that you have learned those lessons. You don't have to feel jaded, though. You can find a way to bring that into your work. Like, because think about it, as an artist, have you ever gone and read some of the stuff you created when you were younger? Like, yes, you were optimistic and maybe you got more opportunities in a way, but at the same time, there was a whole dimension, or maybe multiple dimensions, that lacked from your work. And so that's kind of the similar vibe here, is use that to, you know, full-fledged, to add that, the shadows to the work is how you get a full image. It is time to embrace your shadow self, illuminate the darker side of your nature by allowing some light to flow in. It's time to free yourself from past bitterness, hurt, and resentment. You can make sense of the chaos, surrender pain, heal. Question your belief systems. What is holding you back? Why are you here? Why did you create your current situation? It is now time to be more personally accountable. I hold only positive thoughts. My actions are of pure intent. Okay. All right, and some of you haven't even been practicing your art, because Temperance in the Thoth Tarot is literally art. That's what it's called. And some of you have just been like, meh, haven't painted. You know, you might kind of be doing busy work that is limiting you. Again, maybe not in the true medium that you want to be in. Maybe you know that you really want to do sculpture and you've always thought that, but you're doing some digital art and just, well, it's trending. This is what works on Instagram, you know, that kind of thing, or whatever it is. Maybe you know that you create music and you are procrastinating going into music because you feel like, well, I didn't get into that school and I need to brush up and I don't know all the ropes that I want to learn. So I'm going to just completely ignore working on my music and just go, you know, mess around with some other, you know, collage work or whatever. So there's the need to reclaim, you know, it's not saying you have to get rid of the other art disciplines, but to reclaim yourself and get back to knowing yourself. All right, now as prompts and characters, these are some interesting characters. So definitely we have villain energy, right? We have shadow energy, somebody who is maybe a corporate sellout, working with the energy. It could be the energy of capitalism. Now we have the visionary reverse with the high priestess reverse with temperance, which connects to spirituality. So you could be working with a character who uses a false spiritual front to, you know, either just work what they would call darker arts, or to kind of hoodwink people into a scheme that is not as good as it seems. We also have a very youthful, fiery energy that's kind of just randomly taking choices and popping off like a firecracker and just wants to prove themselves and isn't quite knowing what they want to do. Now also your advice is to if you're stuck in your work, and I think some of you are, I definitely see some writers here, is to rebel against your own viewpoint. So if you, whether it's always painting or taking a photo from the same viewpoint, if it's always just, you know, kind of being, oh, this is what I do, this is what I do, just flipping, you know, using a different type of lens, or, you know, basically going outside yourself. Do you always write books in the third person, you know, switching it to first person, things like that. The viewpoint of how you view your work and the voice that you're like, no, this is my voice. It's time to, you know, angelic communication, communicate from other realms, you know, maybe having a narrator in the work instead of being so close to the project. You know, try it out, even if you don't stick with it. Just the concept of expanding your mind and kind of basically pulling yourself out of the work, allowing there to be greater themes, will give you so many more ideas. Some of you are afraid to explore darker sounds or characters or themes in your work, and yet it can be like, look at Harry Potter, right? It has such horrible dark themes. Like the bad characters are actually called Death Eaters. Like there's necromancy involved in things, but she did it in a way that she balanced it with other stuff. And when you think of it, you're like, oh yeah, my childhood, and you know, happy Harry Potter, right? And there's like tons of other things. There's, you know, touches on issues of like race and bigotry and, you know, genocide and like all these other things that it actually does talk about in there. So this is, you know, telling you there's ways to incorporate the things that you actually care about and be a bit more real in your work, and allow that to translate a bit without feeling like, one, you either go and sell out and you don't incorporate that, or two, you know, you're doing it just for like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and it feels very generic. And we have Tiny Dancer from Elton John, and in that song he's talking about, you know, turning back, she just laughs, the boulevard's not that bad, because there's people trying to hand tickets out for God, they say, and judging that they're out living their artistic life and things like that. And you know, so I think it's about finding your niche. Some of you might have some religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs that are, you know, hindering you from breaking out and expressing yourself. You know, maybe you want to do modeling, but you have, you know, religious attire that, or even views between certain groups within your religion that is not agreeing with that or talks that down. But you want to go and to be empowered and to walk this path. So it is time to go and walk that path that others would see as shadowy, or that you've been a little bit afraid of branching out on. Now we have dark hard chocolate for the senses. I like to bring in all the senses on work when we do it. We have music that has a darker tone to it, or that at least touches on darker subjects, even if it's lighthearted. Tiny Dancer is a good example of that. You know, some of the themes in that, like it says, you know, he pokes fun at, you know, people who get too into their religion and judge others, and places that are seen as shady and dangerous, but to them they have this good memory. It's this like little ditty, it makes you feel good to sing it. You also have music, it's maybe like Moonlight Sonata or things, nocturnes, things of that might help you get into the mood. That music that sounds dark or nighttime cruising in the rain, that kind of vibe could be something to really connect to. The colors, blues and the shades of blues is very inspiring for you. Now, some of you don't have enough diversity in your work. I forgot to touch on that. Temperance reverse. Temperance is, that card where we see people from other lands. We see that kind of energy. And here it's you opening up to start seeing people of different cultures and beliefs and things. And that's what you're missing in your story. If you're like, man, this just doesn't feel right. And maybe because of that is because you don't want to have to address all the things that happen when you really, show a variety of people, because that's a lot of, politicking and tough stuff sometimes that is brought up with those dynamics. But you are being encouraged to, again, look outside, rebel against your own viewpoint. So look at your story. If you're evaluating a character, how would people from other social classes view that person? Ask some of your friends or people to evaluate your character who are from different races, different backgrounds, different financial levels to you, because you might see a whole different side to that character that you didn't even know could be interpreted, and you might be like, ooh, I don't like that side, I need to reformulate this. So I do feel like there is some growth just in like personal beliefs that will be there. Okay, so yes, sounds, we got taste. Sense is either like a dark, smoldery, like musky sense. If you're, getting yourself into a headspace to work deeper, it could be cedary or sandalwoody, rich, deep scents. And then the opposite of that, light, feathery scents. Those are the two that you kind of work behind. You do have an energy of kind of working between like fire and water a little bit, like deep, moody, and then bringing in these high notes and surprisingly lightness in it. Some of you might have really good humor that way, where you can go into deep, dark things and then make it like a joke, and kind of, that could be a good aspect to bring to your character or your work as well, to have a cheekiness or a lightness that you have when talking about deeper situations. All right, so I hope that these prompts and ideas and insights helped, and go ahead and comment down below and let me know what you thought. All right, and we'll be moving on to number 2 with the breathing. So if you chose number 2 here with Buddha, welcome, welcome. Let's see what we have. We have the 8 of Wands. Bang, off with the bang. We have the Ace of Swords. This is the Dali, the Salvador Dali. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Let's see, we have the Impressionist Tarot as well. You have the Ace of Swords twice. You have the 4 of Swords, and this is the Tarot of Delphi, which is it's like all like Victorian and Edwardian paintings. We have the color deck here, turquoise, spiritual empathy. Feral, this is one I created myself, #artist. I have little prompts I wrote. Create the work as someone else. Priest, so we have archetype cards, so we can bring in archetype energy or see if there's something that we need to address that way. We have discipline from our little sweet deck, and the song is Drew Barrymore by Bryce Vine. Y'all probably know that, it's been popping off everywhere. Okay, so the energy we have here, a lot of you are writers, like bam, 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 2 Ace of Swords and an 8 of Pentacles, boom. I actually see a lot of you who can become successful writers, because we're seeing the Queen of Pentacles. Absolutely, but they're saying straight off, it's going to take discipline, period. The Priest energy also has that energy of like the publisher, like, them knowing what it takes and things of that nature. Now, some of you, that could be the issue, because we have create work as someone else. You might not like having other people's voices or editing. I can see some of you hate editors. Some of you, it's critics, all right? You just can't stand it. You don't want to have to reformulate anything. You're like, screw the system. I'm tired of this. I want to create how I want to create. Feral, I refuse to follow. Do not ask for permission. I hold the cards kind of energy here, and you might be very quick to say so, right? I do see a lot of you are very quickly inspired, and you're just so creative. You're just always writing, you're always doing whatever is your art, or you have a lot of ideas about it in your head, but the process of writing them down, or painting them out, or whatever it is, and allowing others to take a look at that and judge that, whether it's in school, whether it's in you know, like I said, an establishment or going to an art gallery owner, you just are like, no, like, I don't want to do it. I will not listen. I do see that you're missing out on good information that you should actually adhere to a little bit, right? Because this Drew Barrymore song, he's talking about like, have I seen you before? You're the next Drew Barry and I want more, right? But Drew Barrymore actually comes from a famous family, so she probably had a lot of advice that was passed down. So even though she was this precocious actress and, you know, has just done a ton of work, she did have an established, you know, family that she came from with this work. And so there are people who know tricks of the trade, that know how to translate your project to others, that are going to have good advice that you really should listen to, even if it's just on the business side of things, you know. And that's all, like, the biggest way that artists bomb themselves and creatives is that they don't want to listen to business advice. They don't want to listen to how the market is. Well, you can't properly rebel against something if you don't know what the hell you're rebelling against, okay? So I'm just being, you know, a little tough love here, because I think y'all are blunt too. Because if you do that, you could really mess up your work. We even have turquoise, which is the throat chakra, okay? Like, this is just communication, boom, boom, boom. Some of you are, it's radio. You want to be on radio. So you have to know how things work, you know? Facilitates spiritual commitments, serves as a channel for spiritual energy. But I'm really getting the Hierophant energy from that priest card. All right. Now, some of you really have spiritual empathy. You really do want to bring in, and maybe that's why you might be like, these people aren't woke. I'm not going to listen to their advice on my work. You know, it's like, well, unless you will discipline yourself so that you can be the publisher, and the Queen of Pentacles can, you could, unless you get to that point that you can really safely protect and legally, you know, have smarts about your work and really put it out there and promote it and all that stuff, then you're going to have some humility, right? And work with someone else on your projects, or take their advice and consult. At least consult is what I'm getting, okay? If you've been working on something and you're harboring it, a lot of you have Four of Swords reversed, so it is time to stop hiding your work in your portfolio. Y'all be ready to beat someone up. They try to look at your portfolio. You want to beat someone up if, you know, internally you're like, rah, you probably talk and say it. If someone doesn't say that you're an artist or creative, you know, they don't know you. But, you know, actually having people really get involved with your work, or for some of you it's, you know, that step of showing your work. For some of you it's the feedback part that you're stuck on, or the editing part, things of that nature. You just are like, no, I don't want to hear it, you know, it's messed up, I don't want to hear it. So it is, and you could have really been burnt in the background. So it's still in the background of your mind in the past, with advice from others who said that they were well-meaning and things, and then they took advantage. So it's good. Like, you're smart. Like, you're almost too sharp, almost too smart with your work. But it's kind of getting in the way. And I feel like a lot of you are in the place where it's time to go to business with your work and put it out there. It really is like, there. I feel like a lot of you do have those ideas that were you to go and pitch them, they would be like, dang, yeah, let's do it. Come on, let's get on it. But you have to be open to working with others, and that's why you have to create the work as someone else. You know, take in other people's information, you know, flip things from other perspectives. It can help you. We touched on that in group 1, and this way it's kind of a little different though. So let's move into your prompts and kind of advice that way. We have the color turquoise. That could really be something that is major. It could even be the gemstone turquoise. And again, you guys can use this in so many different ways. If you're a painter, you could use that color. If you are writing a book, someone could have a gemstone. That's their sacred gem. That is that color. There's so many different ways that you can use this energy. We have the energy of a spiritual leader again, but this is a bit more practical. It's almost like a mentor who you revere and listen to as if they're a priest or someone special. So that could be an archetype or a character to bring into your work. Is kind of this, you know, kind of community leader kind of figure who really is out there kind of champion the people, or very strong-minded, but still about their business and knowing how things are and about being disciplined. We have people who are really, really rebellious. There could be people who are extreme anarchists in your story, who come out of nowhere and just want to kind of tear down what's being built with the main character or established storyline. And definitely there could even be some kind of rioting, or like, you know, even protesting or something that goes on there in your story. These could be themes that you want to talk about in your work. Now, I definitely see you up on current events. I definitely see you having a mind and an opinion about everything. Yeah, so it's good to express that. I also see a storyline with underdogs who maybe fight the system a little bit and learn how to empower themselves in it. Because in Drew Barrymore, he talks about, in that song, he talks about, like, all these other girls keep wondering what I fuck with you for. Like, why? And he's like, but he knows you're the next Drew Barrymore, right? So there definitely is that energy of like, no one believed in me, but I'm gonna make it. I'm self-made. I'm putting this out there. I'm earning my stripes, and I'm gonna take that power. Like, cause I'm smart. You know, I'm smart about this. I can navigate this. You know, when deals are going bad or going good, like there's a lot of negotiation that's going on. And I definitely do say, you know, trust yourself. If you are open and engaging in talks of negotiations and things like that, go for what you're really worth. That's true. Again, you do, like, you know, have in mind what the established thing is so that you're not just throwing out crazy figures. But as long as you're educating yourself about it, it's like, yes, that's then when you use that sharpness, when you use that wit and that logic, and that's when you put it towards them. Some of you are rappers, definitely. Some of you are straight rappers with this energy. And it could be collaborations, or again, just kind of listening to feedback. If people are like, you know, we can't understand you, and you're a conscious rapper who you're, you know, that matters to you, and you have clear ideas in your head that you want to communicate, you might have to listen to that and augment things a little bit so that they can hear the words, right? Lauryn Hill talked about that. If they can't hear you, what's the point? Now, if you're a mumble rapper, that's different. Okay, so some of you definitely have to get a little bit more clarity. There's just editing that needs to be done. And get your work out first. You know, some of you block your work before you even start to edit it back. And it's like, no, spew it out and then be willing to work on it and spend the time and discipline on it to edit it up, all right? You might even have to invest it in things a little bit to clean them up, right? Get them in the proper picture frames, or, you know, whatever it is. Okay, so more prompts here. We have, I just got coming back from the dead. Some of you might be doing something like that. We have feral energy. There could be, you know, but there's this rising after a long time. Maybe somebody is getting healed after a long illness, or, you know, they're coming back from depression. There's this energy that I was laid out, and it's a comeback story. I see a comeback story. That's what it is. Some of you, I see sports involved, definitely. You know, let's see. But definitely I see stubbornness, strongness of mind, wit and stubbornness, and someone, a character or something that takes a lot of discipline. Maybe, you know, if it's a visual art, it takes discipline for your viewers to sit there and learn the concepts. I do think that you can go into a little bit more, you know, concepts that hit you first when you look at them, but then you're like, wait a minute, it's saying something else. And you know, there's another storyline behind it that is huge, right? So the idea that's coming to me that would fit this energy well is This Is America by Childish Gambino, right? Danny Glover. Or Donald Glover. Oh my God, Danny Glover. Because when you just hear the song, it's like, okay, like it's not as full. But then you see the video and the visual, and you're like, whoa! And it does have all, right? It has the establishment. It has this wild, chaotic energy. It has a message. It's like boom, 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 and it is coming back and bringing things back from the past and being like, here, you know. And it does show that he had a lot of discipline to get all those different factors and put it together in a catchy way that people would pay attention and listen to it. And you can balance harsh truths with a little bit of kind of entertainment, or but it's art. And I feel like that's a thing with you guys. You want to learn how to have like your vision not tainted by gamey entertainment for a lot of you, or just dull, like this is the way we have to do it. And I think that you're going to be very good at being able to figure that out, as long as you learn the rules so that you can break them, okay? I also see some of you afraid of, number one, a lot of you might have chosen one or two, or been stuck between the two of them, because there's might be that energy that you're afraid of kind of selling out, as far as you just don't want to go down that road. And that might be why you're ignoring business, because you're like, no, like business is going to taint my work. I'm going to get caught up in it. It's not going to be good. So it's like, no, if you empower yourself, you can still maintain the boss and the rights, right? Like J.K. Rowling had the rights to her work, even though it became this huge thing. There was a lot of things that they had to consult her on and go back to the drawing board with her on. Although I'm sure there was aspects of it that got out of her control a little bit, she still had a lot of power for a project that was so, you know, this billionaire, you know, project. So, all right, now we have Peanut Brittle. All right, so for peanut brittle chocolate, we have remain focused, maintain concentration, pay attention. You are assertive and confident. You are soon to enjoy the benefits of self control and your newfound focus. Develop self mastery. Forge ahead and keep doing what you know best. Discipline is needed at this time. I am disciplined, loyal, and centered. I stand in my power with assertion and confidence. And that, like, perfectly sums this up. And some of you might have, it's almost a Queen of Swords energy as well, where it's just like you might have to have this steeliness towards you, and you might get a mentor who's like that, or like a boss. This is, this is completely reminding me of The Devil Wears Prada, right? So it's like the what is it, Anne Hathaway, I just watched it and I can't remember what her name is in it, but she Andy, right? She has to like discover this other part of herself to work with Meryl Streep, right? And the devil in Prada. And she learns that she has like so many more resources and ambition and things than she knew. She also learned some negative things that she has to learn to counterbalance and kind of dial back, right? So here, right, there's that feral side, right? And I think that this journey is going to be a lot like that for you as you navigate the world of where it takes for you to thrive in your work. You might discover like, man, I can be I can be a boss bitch, but you might also be like, dang, I can be a bitch, so it's that kind of vibe where sometimes you are going to have to reevaluate yourself, remind yourself of your morals, and it's like sometimes it's going to be good for you to be cutthroat, be very disciplined. And this might even just be towards your loved ones, right? I know it's so hard when you're really working on something and you're focused and you don't want to lose information, and you have to stay on point to not like isolate and be harsh with your loved ones if they interrupt and things of that nature. And so it's kind of like just remembering to check in with yourself. It may be because you're getting drained, because you need to rest, because you're not feeling rooted and grounded, and you're a bit too much in your head space, and it's like you're cerebral with your root chakra, and sometimes you need to just come down and be in that root chakra, and it's like create the work as someone else, kind of take a step back and make sure you're still being you. But I do see people who want to go into the fashion industry in this. I'm seeing a lot of sewing, a lot of needles, but it is very much that Devil Wears Prada energy. Isn't that funny? Where it's like, some of y'all, you just want to be the boss. You're like, I don't want to, like, I just want to be able to dress Beyonce and tell her, you wear what I pick out for you. Like, you want that kind of clout. You know what I mean? You like want to have that clout where you're the one who is like dressing people for the Met Gala, and you're just like, I tell you what to wear. You should be so lucky to have my my artwork on you kind of energy. So, just remember there's some steps there. You don't want to do that thing where you think there's another step and you step and there's no step and you get like your stomach flips because there wasn't any step and you kind of fall forward. Some of you kind of rush to the gun definitely too soon. So and some of you might even be a little bit over eager sometimes. So I do see some of those like swift talkers. Like, do you have ever interacted with someone who their energy is very nudgy, right? Almost like those salesmen type, where it's just like nudge, 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 nudge. And like, if you grew up in LA, you know what I'm talking about. If you ever been in the Hollywood area or dealing with Hollywood folks, it's just like, oh my goodness, like dial it back. Like, you're trying to sell me some snake oil here. So I think a lot of you are finding your balance between that, when to actually connect and be, friends with people and do other things. Now, for some of you, these are characters in your stories. You could have people who are, kind of walking that path of trying to be successful and not be swindled. You might have, I'm seeing pickpockets could be characters. You could have people who are navigating through the social system and working their way up, as we mentioned before. Yes, I also see working with metals. So if you're someone who's doing mixed media, or if you do sculpture, I'm seeing fire and metal here. So that could be something. Jewelry workers could be big in here. The thing that I see for you guys is success, though. If you've been thinking that you really want to go from, like, maybe you're just at the starting point, but you're like, I want to have an art show, you could definitely make that happen and have something established. So if you're like, you know what, I want to establish an art house, I want to establish, you know, a couture line or whatever, I definitely see you being able to do that. Some of you will even decide to become your own publishers or like retain your own rights, even if you're working through a publishing company. All right, so root chakra is big, throat chakra is big. Yeah, I think that's the prompts I'm getting for you right now. Textures are crunchy, crispy, crinkly textures. If you're working with that, we have brittle, you know, kind of glassy, metallic energy and colors. We have turquoise here. The music, we have Drew Barrymore by Bryce Vine. Yes, and I'm like, what am I getting for scents? I'm just getting sharp natural scents, kind of like when you smell like the sulfur of matches, or you know, kind of like the, I'm just, you know, when people are working kilns and things like that, just that's the sense that I'm picking up. So these are just things to spark your imagination, get into your characters, get into the work you're doing, and you can utilize them in whichever ways work for you. So I hope you like that reading. Please comment down below and like, share, subscribe, and I am going to go on to number 3. Thanks for watching. Should do this again. I might always have these piles of cards that I have to sort after this reading, so I'm like, oh, there's piles of cards over here. Okay, and for number 3 we had, oh, the amethyst. For everyone who picked that slice of amethyst there. Here we go. We have the 6 of Pentacles. That's nice. I like seeing that in your reading. Let's see what else there is first. We have Judgment reverse. Oh my gosh, Judgment upright. I just love when that happens in readings, where it's just like we get the reverse and the upright. We have the Knight of Swords reversed. Come close and bear witness. Snuggle. Natural touch. Oh, it's reversed. I was going to flip it. We have Networker reverse. Conveys information only for personal gain. Spreads fear or falsehood. Let's see. Make your work idea walk in the shoes of its polar opposite or its enemy. We have a lot of changing viewpoint in like every single reading today. Truffles is nourishment. And we have Starving by, I should put the chocolate by now, right? Nourishment and Starving, okay. By Haley Steinfeld, and it has like Zed and other people on it. All right. So, and with Judgment reverse, we literally see judgment changing in your reading. So some of you, especially if like you're writers, well, any art that you do, I see you dramatically changing like the ending of your work, or what you thought was like the main idea that you started out with. I see you doing an alternate ending, or just dramatically, like I'm seeing the energy like black. Maybe if you do a painting and it had a completely different color scheme for some reason, and then actually, look at this here, they just, you know, there's just these dark colors added to, you know, doing his thing there, Dali, to this painting that others might have left without all of that. And I feel like that's kind of the idea. There's going to be something that just, when you flip things and you look at it in a different way, you're just going to completely alter something that you didn't think you were going to retouch, or that you were just really attached to being a certain way. And then once you get this new idea, it's like you can't, it's like starving, right? I didn't know that I was starving until I tasted you, and just like, oh, that's what it needed. Like some of you, I'm getting the feeling like you might have like a piece of, you know, art, a painting, or, you know, something from photography or whatever your medium is, that you have just like known it wasn't done for a long time, but you didn't know how to complete it. And you know, we get so attached to things like that, and we tweak it and tweak it and tweak it, and you're going to end up coming in and just doing this big splash of something really contrasting and that you didn't expect. And it's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's it. You know, you're going to be like, hey, come look, everybody, look what I did. You know, you've looked at it in every way possible, and you finally get it in this way that you really connect. There's a huge theme. We see you turning over your judgment. We see you turning over the Knight of Swords. It's very opinionated, you know, crusades with his beliefs, but that's reversed. And then we have make your work idea walk in the shoes of its polar opposite. So some of the other readings so far have had like look at it from a different point of view and things like that. This is specifically in its polar opposite, which is interesting because we have the battling judgments there. So like if you were to take To Kill a Mockingbird and write it from the other person's point of view, or if you were to say like, let me think of, you know, a story and then flip the judgment that was made in that story, the judgment call, you know, so, or Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, if at any moment that's like a pivotal, what decision will they make moment, we go in and we completely flip it, right? What if Gandalf had stayed with his mentor and took on his beliefs and he didn't become Gandalf? Well, he was already Gandalf the White at that point, yeah. You know, but he was like, okay, you're right. Right? You're right, Saruman. I'm going to see things your way instead of battling out with him, right? These are like pivotal character develop moments. And so I think it's really good for you to have a little looseness in playing with those dynamics at this time. We have the Six of Pentacles too, so I do want to add in those of you who have been looking for mentorship or Patreon. If you have a Patreon going, I see things picking up. It will come with, okay, some of you have not been good at networking and you've been like so afraid that you're sticking to a very niche audience instead of opening up and branching out. And maybe some of your viewpoints as you become more woke are, you know, they're not catering to that particular audience and you're seeing more of a spectrum, because this is in this deck. This author made this the natural like skin color card, Snuggle. And I'm seeing this with the judgment cards and changing your point of view, walking the polar opposites and things. So I just feel like in a lot of ways, there could even be political ways or just your like essential soul lessons that you've learned. You might feel like you outgrow your audiences or you outgrow those who would patron you or purchase your artwork or things of that nature. And so even if it's just like the audience in our head, like a lot of times we don't even show a large percentage of the work that we make. It's just the audience in our head. Although some of you I do see as being on Instagram, you might look for very quick validation from people. So if you're wanting to branch out and do more commentary on deeper things that you've developed or kind of things you've kind of solved within yourself, I think that it's actually a really good climate to do that in. You know, people are going to be like, whoa, we didn't even know that we needed it, but boom, nourishment right there. And I've seen some artists doing that, right? It's a very bold and brave time to do things like that and to show your real opinions and values on things. Okay, so this is something that your characters will also be doing within your stories. It can even be bringing kind of those elements into if you work with clothing and things of that nature. It could be playing against stereotypes, playing against the status quo. I even see it like playing with gender roles. If you're doing something with, even if you're someone who casts people in a play, or you're kind of figuring out the balance of characters in the play, or if you're doing things in fashion, you know, really playing with like I just feel like this is reminding us that what I'm getting right now is like, think about how like our clothing stereotypes aren't even the same throughout all different ages. Like it was in Shakespeare's time, everybody in theater was just men in drag. Like that's what it was. That was normal. Like how many, like there, most of history, it's been normal for men to wear heels. Like, you know, men wore robes and skirts before they like rock pants in a lot of places. So some things are so silly. Like pink was originally a boy's color and blue was a girl's color. And if you look at like earlier American photos, the boys wore like pink dresses, like right? So like the fact that we demonize certain things, and I feel like little things like that are actually huge things are things that you might want to play with in your work or just express out who you are, and you might be afraid of backlash or judgment. Now, it's not to say people aren't going to be judgmental, but like you just have this thing that you can flip it to your advantage and just work with that, and it's going to be awesome. And it's definitely going to draw a crowd, and it's going to be something that's very natural to you, a natural fit. Like it's just time. So allow your work to grow with you, but also it is wise to think about, okay, how would a good exercise for you could be? It's kind of like speech and debate class. Like, how would the other side view this? What would their arguments be? So that might help you kind of seal up all the loose areas. You know, if you have someone who's like, you know, like let's say your grandma's really religious and you're just not, you know, it might actually be kind of cool if you can do it in a respectful way to have kind of shoot the breeze and have a contrasting, have them come if they're willing to view your art and have a dialogue and see. Maybe you would like to answer some of those questions within your work that you didn't even know they were going to think. Maybe you can clear up some misconceptions that you didn't realize were kind of left void in your work. So I do see helpful partners coming in, and kind of like beneficial sit downs with people, or like round tables and things like that. I'm sorry if you can hear that. That's my dryer, and it's going to do it a second time. Yes, because in the past, you could have definitely been on like the end of not getting good feedback from people, not having trustworthy people to troubleshoot with. Again, definitely use your judgment and don't put out anything that is not, kind of copyrighted, or that are very tender ideas that you don't want others to take. But there are ways that we can, show our work and stuff and still get feedback sometimes. So, and I think that's part of your lesson here, is learning to have good judgment with who you trust with your work. But it is time. If you've been wondering, like, should I be looking for a workshop? Should I be looking for, a group of people or someone to share my work with at this time and kind of get feedback with? Or if you wanted to kind of, maybe you already have established network on your Instagram or something, and you're thinking about putting out some works in development and kind of seeing what the people think. Some of you might even be good. Like, some artists are so brave, and they'll, put two renditions of their work, and they'll say, okay, what touches you guys most, or what speaks to you, the one with the white background or the one with the black background. So some of you are going to get much more involved with people who patron you or people who follow you. And I think it's going to be a very edifying thing for you as an artist. All right. Let's see. So the colors we have skin tones. We have it could be the color peach, but this one is like, it's a skin tone card in this deck. We have truffles. Oh, you get to be decadent over there in your truffles. We have this song Starving. And in this song too, oh, another thing, she says, I was so much younger yesterday. And in this song, Haley Steinfeld, this is like her I'm not just a Disney star song, right? So she it's kind of like a little joke where she's like, I was so much younger yesterday. She says it in the song. And now she's, she did good. She transitioned out, at least without anything crazy as far as I know. And she's singing her adult kind of songs now and things. And so some of you, it could be just as simple as that, is how to translate your audience to the next level of you, or to another, translate to a different age group as you're growing and not be stuck in a niche. So yes, that song is there. We talked about working with the color black, networking with others. Now for character types and archetypes, I do see there's group activity. What happens when the masses turn against someone and make a crazy judgment that then sends kind of like mercenaries, or what is it, Dog the Bounty Hunter after people, things like that, and then having to pull in, and like, you need a witness, you need somebody who's there to record what's going on. So that can give you some ideas of some storylines or character development. You could literally have a judge for some of you in it, or have someone who, have a storyline where unless they accomplish a certain thing, there's a harsh judgment. This is even reminding me of Persephone, where she ate when she was down in Hades, and so the judgment was different than if she hadn't have eaten, and she had to 50-50, right? Six of Pentacles, split her time in both realms. So maybe that mythology will resonate with you or give you some ideas. I think the costume energy, even if you're writing a story, or the textures that you're using, is very important. A flowing vibe is very important here, like this lush, it's very draped. Even though this is a painting, we have these waves and like ruffles and very luxurious energy. And with the truffles, bringing in more luxurious quality to whatever you're working on could be a good way to go. And it's kind of like swing for the fence, like swing as if you were on Project Runway and you have everything to lose, like the judgment cards here, like go big on your project. This is the time to do it, and I think you will get the funds you need. If you're like, man, I want to, we're trying to do this photo shoot, like I'm trying, don't be afraid to crowdfund. That's what I'm seeing. Don't be afraid to crowdfund. And kind of, if you feel like anyone is a negative energy, you know, it's okay. It's good to cut them off at this time, because you want the positive side of networker, which is enhances unity through the sharing of information, engender social awareness and empathy. So that's good. And I think some of you have been afraid of crowdfunding, crowd surfing, because you think that you don't want people to just think that you're just out here trying to scam or whatever. But it's more like, if you come in the correct way, it'll move in the correct way. All right, it's kind of that energy. So trusting yourself to get to the next level, and trusting that you deserve to have patrons. That's how it's always been in many ages, right? And remember that the artists, without the artists, we don't know the history of the world. What do we look at in excavations? We go and we find, you know, paintings or carving, stonework, right? We're looking on the building, we're looking at the artwork, we're looking at the writing, the tablets. It's very important. Being a true artist and documenting who you are and expressing what's going on around you is so very important. So please value yourself and know that you deserve to have people that fund you, that buy your work, that take care of you, so that you can produce things. And this is about you getting to that next level where you feel like, okay, yeah, you know, I know I'm doing stuff that's good. Come a little closer. I'm a little bare, it's a little raw, but like my stuff's legit. Like it hits you in the soul, and I deserve to have that valued, you know. And I think that you have the ability to put out really good content, or like really good thought-provoking artwork that really hits people and gives them those little soul shakes that it might really stick with them, and you know, just kind of change who they are a little bit, because art can do that to you. So big ups. I'm excited to see what you guys are out there creating in the world. All right. You could have something with merchants too. That's a little tidbit. Hopefully you didn't click off right away with the Six of Pentacles. I just thought of that. There could be some merchant themes in your work. Okay. Charity, that kind of thing. All right, we're at number 4. We have the Evil Eye Pendant here. It protects from the evil eye. Let's see, we have the Sun. We have Prostitute. Oh, wow, this is getting good. We have the Ace of Cups, the Ten of Swords, Use Animals. Peter, don't get us now. Five of Wands, Bitter with Worry. Oh, child. Four of Pentacles, Magi, Reconcile Differences. It's so funny because I was getting a little bit of like the whole, it was in another reading too, that Mary Magdalene energy, and then we get the Magi. Oh, I love this card. Be fearless. Why is self-confidence arrogant? Why is self-deprecation considered modesty? I work my ass off to be able to have a high opinion of myself. And we have Crush by Yuna and Usher. Okay, so animals might be predominant in your work. You know, even if like you're an actor on Game of Thrones, they asked the wildling who was always like with Brennan, I forget her name. They asked her like, what was your inspiration for your character when you're, you know, your unique movements, who did you study? And she actually said a raccoon. She's like, a raccoon is like the energy of my character. That's where I get my movements, and kind of her thought process and everything comes from that energy. So, you know, if you're an actor, or if you're thinking about kind of the mannerisms of your character, or, you know, obviously you could have them, the imagery of animals or animal kind of habitat within your work if you're creating visual arts, doing videos and things of that nature. Okay, we have the Sun being prominent. We have the Prostitute and all this money, and it's the light side, the attribute side, that says accentuating the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. So this is kind of like right there, that's kind of like some feminist stuff, or, you know, just any person stuff where you're claiming your right to your body however you want to work yourself. But you're going to be respected, and you still know that your body is a temple for you. And so that, you know, I'm going to make it in this world, but I'm not going to sell out the way that you want, right? And so that's pretty powerful. We have the Four of Pentacles with that. So that's really, some of you might go between, like, some people thinking that you're a Scrooge. It's like kind of ironic. Like for instance, in the art world, people might look at you as like, oh, you're uptight. This is just the way we do it in the art world. You don't put out, nothing comes for free. And then other people are thinking, oh, you're just out there giving it away to be successful in the art world. So it's very interesting that there can be those dynamics, or maybe you just have that fear of like getting into any kind of creative arts and having to make those decisions. But the Sun card here is illuminating a path for you that is not having to be abused or taken advantage of or anything of that nature, and that is more in empowerment. And we have the Magi here, reconcile differences. So some of you, I do feel like that you might have had some tough situations behind the scenes. It's making me think of like, Lana Del Rey. She a hot mess girl, but in her songs, all her made up stories in her songs, but she, kind of captures that, behind the scenes, preying on the young wannabe artists. And she has a song, Gods and Monsters. And some of you might have, come up in the arts and seen that, or you might have a fear of that, like, okay, like I want to be a singer, but I'm not trying to end up on drugs or be have this be part of Me Too movement or these things because of these crazy executives. And that could be a very real fear that's holding you back from realizing your potential. And so here it's having ways again that you can fit in without succumbing to a culture that you don't believe in. For some of you, it's spiritual beliefs. You might be under that notion that everybody who is successful in the arts is Illuminati. Continue your magical education, because you will begin to recognize different types of spiritual craft and witchcraft and know the difference. Because that's not true for everyone, that is. And so I see that. I see enlightenment for you. Oh, there's a lion right there. Oops, where is it? There we go. And it says use animals. So I just caught that. There's also butterflies. All right. So also some of you, it might just be that fear of competition. Like, man, if I'm going to make it, I'm competing with all these actresses and, actors and their plastic surgery and things. So a lot of you have been killing the dream before it's even really taken off, right? And it's like you want it so bad. You have the Ace of Cups there. You have this raw talent, but there's bitterness and worry. Let's read that. And the Five of Wands and like competition. And so bitter chocolate. This card can symbolize anxiety and fear. You may be feeling that your life could be somehow bigger or better than it is. In truth, it is important to remember that it's the ordinary things that tend to bring the most comfort. Take a deeper look at what is worrying you and stop blaming others or situations for how you feel. Focus on your breathing to achieve a sense of calm. Surrender, forgive, accept, and relax. I take pleasure in the simple things in life. And it's funny because I feel like that, like the shortness of breath, and we have this Five of Wands that can't even let the butterflies flit through, and the Ten of Swords is like cutting off all the air. So the need to breathe and kind of, I think, also reconcile the part of you that's like, yeah, I could hustle this, I can make it happen, and the part of you that's like really sensitive and just needs to be an artist. It's hard to carry both of those energies at the same time, like to be safe enough to create and be vulnerable, and yet be tough enough to not be taken advantage of and make sure you get your money right. A little Rihanna energy there, like, you better have my money. That's why she needed to write the song, right? She grew up in the industry. She's like, I know what this is, and man, I have the power now, right? Now, another thing, we have the streak of individuality. We have Leo, Aries, did it backwards. Aries, Leo energy. We have all water signs here showing up. There could be some Capricorn or Gemini energy. And we have Crush by Yuna and Usher. Now, the thing about Yuna is that she is, she's an Asian singer and she's Muslim, right? And she rocks her hijab, and she does, like, she's just her, and she's her, and she's beautiful and talented and smooth and all that kind of thing. And so for some of you, it could again be that feeling of like, I don't want to sell out, which has popped up throughout some of these readings here. And like, can I do it just being me, with your own animal instinct, with your own just who I am? Can I just rock it that way and find a way to merge these worlds? Well, we have the Magi there. You definitely can. Ace of Cups there. You have the talent. So I think this is just encouragement to continue on if that's been the case. She's over here rocking it with these like R&B legends and stuff, and she's just doing her. And, she holds to who she is. And Like, that's what it is. So it's kind of like your shine is going to get you far, and you can be someone who does make it with your real raw talent and keeping that good heart. The sun with the Ace of Cups is beautiful. You're gonna learn some things. You're gonna, be able to, use this strong energy that you had, to protect what you're doing here. But it's really time to let go of this bitterness and frustration and anger and, oh, how did this person make it? Sometimes I see you watching award shows and you're just mad at everybody, watching music videos, mad at everybody. And it's like, you have to fix that if you're going to be successful in certain things. And it could be, it could be in the art galleries that you're like that, or wherever it is. It could be in the, developing room or something when you're doing your photography or in your art class. But there definitely is some bitterness and resentment and anger, and it's going to block up your flow. And you have a really good flow of talent. So you don't have to hate on someone else, or, oh, I'm better than them, I'm more inventive, I'm more creative. It's not even necessary for you. It's really not. So there's no need to belittle others about their plastic surgery or whatever. It can get so petty, y'all. Like I said, and earlier, like, I was, photography, music major, fine arts minor. Y'all, it gets so petty. People will be like our photography class was like separated from Canon and like Nikon users. Like, it gets ridiculous, right? It can just get so petty. So it's like, you don't have time for that. You just need to do you, like, without apology. Do you, be fearless, and let everyone else do them. Let them get their little shine, because there's enough to go around. And so if you kill that kind of jealousy and bitterness, you're going to go far. Now, for character archetypes, we have Magi, the wise people coming in here. We have the prostitute, but the prostitute who makes her money, has a good heart, and or his or whoever, and is fallen in love. We have the sun energy, which could be like the energy of like Apollo, or the energy of the kind of like, it's like the good-hearted warrior, or the energy of the child kind of that comes in. I am seeing some fallen warrior energy that you root for, and even though they're grown, they're kind of taken under the wing as, kind of the younger. It's kind of like that Brad Pitt energy, right? Or something, where they're like, oh, or like what's his name, Charlie Hunnam. He was like a lot of his roles would be like that. He'd be playing the tough guy, but the older guys would see him as like, oh, young guy here that we protect, the little light of our lives, right? So Little Prince kind of energy. There's some scrapping, some rumbles in the jungle here that could be in your work. I definitely see this. It's time to find juxtaposition with your work instead of fighting contrast that doesn't work. So instead of kind of like the reading before yours, it was like, no, push for that polar opposites and pay attention to it. For you, it's like, no, find the harmony within it. Let each character, let each piece and part of your work be strong in what it is, and let it all be there. Now, some of you, I'm seeing that you have ideas just in yourself that you want to present, like maybe you, like I said, that primal, energy that's just like really fierce, but then you also want to show your vulnerable side, and you're like, how can I do both of those? Like that Aries energy, like I want to be fierce and wild and intense, but then sometimes I just want to break down and cry and be vulnerable and talk about my breakups or whatever it is. So it's to cultivate that for yourself, or to cultivate your story so that you can have a wider range of emotion in your characters, or in the type of characters that you have coming into your story. Let's see. Pay attention to the pauses in your work, that they're, stable and have meaning to them, and that they're not just kind of a withholding. That happens sometimes in music. It's like, oh, the drop. But sometimes, that pause is just, it gets annoying. It's like, you're just pausing and holding the music from us just to be stingy. Now, it's not with purpose. It's not in good timing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you're overdoing it. So it's like, make sure that your pauses are fluid with the work and make sense. The downtimes in your work aren't just like, oh, this is how you write a story. You do the plot, you go up here, you go down here. That's how you do it. It's like, no, make it flow with who you are and what you're doing. The same thing when you're simplifying with your fabrics or anything like that. If you're gonna do it minimal, it's like, not just because it's a trend or just because, well, I did all this crazy, so now I'm gonna do minimal. It's kind of like put attention and love into those details. Now you might have bitterness or worry. If you're doing poetry, you're doing songs, or you're working out an aspect of your character here, you know, inner struggles, inner turmoil is definitely here. Do you win that battle? Do you not? Do you see the light again? We have the color red. We have a color like sea foam. I'm feeling a little Aphrodite energy. We have Magi there, which is a blue color. I think 3 of the 4 got a blue color, blue tones for their reading. And we have the song Crushy here. So I hope those are a lot of prompts and ideas, and you can see what jumps out at you yourself. We have Cupid here. You know, who does the prostitute fall in love with? With the golden boy or the golden girl. Yeah, like there's a lot to go. You can take it a lot of different ways, and you can use one of these prompts for 10 different types of art that you do as well, and see how you, like, you know, make it throughout different mediums. Okay, so not so much harsh juxtaposition. Get things to flow a little better, reconcile your characters or your work or your creative eye a little bit more, and that polarities within yourself when you're working. And you are very innately talented, so there's no competition but with yourself. Okay, and that is it for this video. I hope you all liked it. Please let me know if you are excited about this series, and if you want to see more. You know, shoot the breeze with others and see what they got from the prompt, and I will talk to you soon.